What's up everybody, D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing a trailer breakdown for Godzilla King of the Monsters. So to celebrate the occasion, I'm appropriately wearing a King Kong shirt. If you're like, oh boy, here we go again, another one of those fake Godzilla fans making a trailer breakdown for nothing but views. Yep, you're absolutely right. I know nothing about Godzilla. I'm definitely not qualified to be talking about this subject, and I'm just going to point out the most obvious things in the world because I have no idea what I'm doing. With all that being said, let's jump into the trailer. Alright, we're going to start off with an actual, legitimately obvious thing. The name for this movie is Godzilla King of the Monsters. It is a reference to the 1956 Americanized version of the 1954 Godzilla movie starring Raymond Burr called Godzilla King of the Monsters. Go figure. Here's something you guys probably didn't know, unless you're a few of you guys, because a few of you guys know, but most of you probably don't. The song that plays in the trailer is a song called Clair de Luna. You may remember it from the background of the diner scene in Terror of Mechagodzilla. Thank you to everyone who sent me that. The trailer starts out with Madison Russell, played by Millie Bobby Brown, in what you guys have identified as Boston. Yep, you were correct. This is definitely Boston. Boston will be the setting for the final battle in this movie, as confirmed by Michael Dougherty at SDCC. During the intro bit here, you can see some flags on a building. The flags are the United States of America flag and the missing POWs/MIA flag. You guys both kindly and not so kindly pointed out the latter of which to me in my previous shot-by-shot for this trailer. The POW/MIA flag doesn't tell us much other than that Madison is at some sort of government building, but I mean, she's the daughter of a Monarch worker, so that was to be expected in the first place. This led me to call the flag, whose symbolism and significance I didn't quite understand, unimportant in my shot-by-shot. I'm really sorry about that. I didn't mean to offend anybody. What I was saying is, from a story perspective, it doesn't have a bearing on the plot. It's not that important. Not the flag itself or what it represents isn't important. After all, even knowing that this is the POW/MIA flag, it doesn't tell us much about this movie. Some people are theorizing that the flag will be flying as a result of the previous Godzilla vs. Muto attacks in 2014, but 5 years have already passed. I think that's a bit of a stretch to say it's still flying for that. You could say that the flag is flying because monsters have been attacking leading up to the point in the movie when you see this flag. After all, this is in Boston, meaning it's probably the end of the film. But even that, I would say, doesn't give us much to bite onto. We already know that monsters are going to be attacking throughout the film, so that's nothing huge. This could give us an actual date for when the movie is set. Seeing as though the flag only flies a couple times of the year, the following dates that it flies are Armed Forces Day, which is the third Sunday in May, Memorial Day, which is the last Monday in May, Flag Day, which is June 14, Independence Day, which is July 4th, National POW/MIA Recognition Day, which is the third Friday in September, and Veterans Day, which is November 11th. Yeah, that doesn't really tell us much either, does it? It basically tells us this might be taking place in the summer or November. Vera Farmiga tells us that the extinction event that humanity fears is upon us now, and you're to blame for it. Humanity is to blame for it.
The mass extinction we feared has already begun. We are the cause.
This is a reoccurring theme throughout the Godzilla franchise, starting in the 1954 movie and becoming very painfully obvious in movies like Godzilla vs. Ghidorah, Godzilla vs. Mothra from 1992, and Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle to some extent. We also heard something like this in Kong Skull Island from both Randa and Brooks, although there it wasn't necessarily that humanity was to blame for the downfall of Earth, but they shared the similar theme that monsters would take back the Earth if humans were not careful.
The Earth unleashed a fever to fight this infection. Its original and rightful rulers, the Titans.
Ancient species owned this Earth long before mankind, and if we keep our heads buried in the sand, they will take it back.
This world never belonged to us. It belonged to them. The question is how long before they take it back.
Madison is surrounded by low-hanging clouds that move in on her very fast. For those of you wondering, these clouds are created by King Ghidorah, who will have the ability to produce hurricanes, tornadoes, and lightning storms whenever he flies. This is a result of his bioelectrical fields interacting with Earth's environment. The legendary logo is all blue in this trailer, setting up a nice thematic difference between this trailer and Godzilla 2014. Godzilla 2014 utilized red throughout its ad campaign and screen time during the movie as a way of showing the devastation that nature can cause. This movie uses red for a similar effect with the Rodan scenes, but it shifts to blue to show the beauty, scale, and elegance of nature. When you start out and you see the Legendary and Warner Brothers logos surrounded by clouds at the start of this, it is a representation of Ghidorah's effect in the atmosphere. Of course, he will create clouds. Later on in the trailer, we'll see the text surrounded by a different type of element to suggest the appearance of a different type of monster. Emma's video plays in front of some Monarch workers. This video is most likely pre-recorded because she doesn't appear to be interacting with anyone in particular in the room. This was most likely filmed after she was kidnapped by Charles Dance's character and his organization. If you're wondering why would these two be kidnapped, I think that Emma and Madison will most likely be kidnapped because Emma Russell has access to a tool that can emit bioacoustic frequencies that will manipulate the Titan's behavior. The Titans are the Mutos, for those of you guys who don't know, or the monsters, which is also a new addition to this series, Titans being the word that's used to refer to the giant monsters. Previously, the word Muto was used in both Kong Skull Island and Godzilla 2014, but seeing as though in 2014, the movie, the name Muto was given to both the male and female creatures that attacked San Francisco, it would only make sense that the public would be confused that the Mutos were the names of the creatures and not just a military acronym given to them, leading to the public calling these creatures Titans. That's most likely the in-universe explanation for the difference. Based off what we hear Emma say in this video, it is safe to assume that she agrees with Charles Dance's characters that monsters should destroy the Earth. Mark Russell's later reaction to this video will only play up on that idea. Notice how Mark Russell walks past a screen in the background playing Emma's video. This could be because something more important is happening, such as Godzilla swimming up to the front window of the submarine that they're in, or this could be because every single screen in the room has been hijacked by this video as if it's some sort of terrorist threat. We then see a huge Monarch expedition to a massive underwater temple that has tributes to Godzilla all over it. A possible theory of what this location could be is it could be the sunken Odo Island after thousands of years. Odo Island is the only previous location in Godzilla franchise history where people worshipped Godzilla as God, as seen in both Gojira and Shin Gojira. Although this is a new timeline and a new continuity, the idea could be the same. This could be where Godzilla's been hanging out the past 5 years too. Maybe Monarch's there looking for him, and I think we have seen this location on the Monarch website as well. I think it's in the Atlantic Ocean somewhere. Michael Dougherty also said that the monsters in this movie would have to adjust to the fact that humanity doesn't view them as gods anymore. Godzilla could be coming here because it's somewhere he views as safe. When he was there previously, when it was on land, or whether it's below sea, it doesn't really matter, he could have been safe there. He could have viewed it as a safe place where people loved and worshipped him. On that note, this will be only the third time in franchise history that Godzilla has been viewed as a god on screen. The first time we ever saw someone on screen view Godzilla as a god was an old man on Odo Island in the original Gojira. The second time we ever saw it was in Shin Gojira. Nope, not the Odo Island stuff, instead the rioting crowd protesting that Godzilla is god. Due to this mythical aspect we are taking with Godzilla, I don't think it's that much of a stretch to assume that humanity in the past gave the monsters some sort of sacrifice so that they could coexist with each other and provide a scenario where we will see what happened in the giant sculpture actually happening in real life, with people bowing down to Godzilla. When the Monarch sub passes by the portrait of Godzilla, it gives some scale for both of them. Now we know that this is a massive temple with a massive portrait of Godzilla, and that's really all we learn. Notice how throughout this trailer, most of the Monarch footage is sent underwater in some sort of portable base of operations. It's a submarine. They're in a submarine. Monarch will be utilizing an underwater base throughout this movie. Godzilla swimming up to the window of this submarine is very similar to imagery we have seen in the movie The Meg. That movie's not out yet, but you've seen it in the trailers. I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but it's worthy of mentioning. And I asked in my trailer shop I shot why Godzilla would be glowing blue in this scene when he's underwater. Is he charging up to use his atomic breath? Most likely not, although his eyes are blue here as well, and they were blue when he was firing his atomic breath, so you never know. A lot of you guys pointed out that this is most likely not him charging up his atomic breath, but this is just natural bioluminescence in the real world. Lots of deep sea animals, fish and other creatures, light up parts of their bodies to lure in prey and also see a little bit in the dark. That could be what Godzilla is doing right now, lighting up to see what's going on. An additional theory that I have is that Godzilla is flashing blue right here because he is eating. Let me explain. We learn in Godzilla 2014 that Godzilla consumes radiation by staying deep in the ocean and absorbing it through the Earth's core. In Godzilla 1984, when Godzilla consumes radiation from a reactor, his dorsal fins light up and flicker blue. This could be exactly what's happening here as well. Maybe he's absorbing radiation, which is why he's lighting up blue. Our first look at King Ghidorah reveals to us that Ghidorah will be exactly how he was described to me in this movie. He was described to me by a secret source I have that told us that he would be a big three-headed dragon with golden skin and rattlesnake tails. Here you can see the three heads. Can't really see the gold skin because, you know, he's frozen, but he has the rattlesnake tails. That's really the big giveaway because obviously he's a three-headed dragon with gold skin. Have you ever seen a Godzilla movie before, D-Man? Yeah, I have. The rattlesnake tails, I can understand that description after seeing this tail. I just wanted to bring it up again because I think it's pretty neato. I don't know if that means that, you know, the tail's gonna shake and rattle like an actual rattlesnake. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. I hope it doesn't, because that sounds a little stupid in my opinion. Michael Dougherty also confirmed that Ghidorah will have no arms in this movie during his IGN interview, meaning that whatever we're looking at right here is not a hand, but rather something else entirely. Some of you guys think it's another foot of Ghidorah's, but you know, a foot being way up here doesn't really make sense, so I'm not sure what the heck it is. Ghidorah seems to be in a menacing pose when he's frozen here, and a lot of you guys theorize that's because of how he was frozen, the context of when he was frozen and what was going on. The theories you guys have include things like Godzilla was fighting him in the past, and this is why he has scars on his chest. The scars on his chest were revealed to us from the Monarch website. During this fight, he fell down some sort of ice cliff or chasm and wasn't able to fly out, resulting in him getting frozen down there, just like what happens to Godzilla in the start of Final Wars. I actually really agree with that theory. I think that makes complete sense, so maybe we'll see that as a flashback at the start of the film. Who knows? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to see that battle in the past at all. I think we'll just hear about it. Other theories that you guys have is that maybe Ghidorah was fighting some other monster who wound up freezing him underwater, or maybe he got frozen down there with it. The hand that we see belongs to that other monster. Another theory is that Ghidorah was just simply sleeping in the Arctic and he woke up freezing, he tried to get out, and he wound up freezing in this pose. That's the end. Other theories involve Ghidorah crashing from space and landing in this pose. Doesn't really make sense though, considering we have seen him fight Godzilla in the cave painting in Kong Skull Island. And then the final theory is that it just doesn't matter. It's just there to make him look cooler. Him being frozen like that doesn't have any bearing on the story at all. Emma Russell's dialogue during this scene is a little bit tricky here. She says that if the Titans aren't found, humanity and the Earth will die, but everything else we have seen and heard her say up to this point makes it seem like she's on the side of humanity dying. The shot we see right here is of San Francisco during the end battle of Godzilla 2014 with the Godzilla vs. the Mutos fight. It is more than likely Madison Russell will lose a sibling in this flashback, as we see her looking at a picture later on with an additional child in it that we don't ever see or hear about again. Hashtag rest in peace, little Russell. This may be the actual cause of the divorce between Mark and Emma Russell later on in the storyline. We see Mothra's chrysalis in the Temple of the Moth in China. For those of you guys who are wondering, a chrysalis holds the larval state of the creatures as the larva prepares for the in-between stages of life, moving from larva to full-blown moth. I think it's kind of safe to say that pre-chrysalis Mothra larva looked a lot like the Toho design for Mothra. The reason I say that is because of the picture we got last year at SDCC that featured a baby Mothra. We then see Madison Russell reaching out to touch Mothra's head. This is a double reference to both Jurassic Park and Kong Skull Island. Little details here include red sensors going off as Mothra approaches. It is indicating that something has been breached in the Monarch facility. Obviously that just means Mothra's hatching. Mothra's leg also enters the shot underneath her head, and it is safe to say that Mothra being so docile during this scene is the result of Emma Russell's monster DJ equipment, aka the bioacoustic sounds that Emma Russell can emit via her little machine that will calm Mothra down. We see Godzilla rising out of the ocean, giving us our first good look at Godzilla's new dorsal fins. They are a bit more stylized to look like the 1954 dorsal fins. They also light up across all three rows. In Godzilla 2014, they only lit up across the middle row. Yeah, you guys are gonna hate me for this one because I don't know how to say her name, but we see, I'll give it my best shot, you know, Chatsui, something like that. If you guys are like, who on the the earth is that? Well, that is the proper Chinese pronunciation, according to the Google search that I did, of Chinese actress Zhang Zai. This is her first appearance in the MonsterVerse. She will be in Godzilla vs. Kong as well. She's some sort of Monarch worker. Although, I love this shot because the guy behind her just looks so hella happy to see Godzilla rising up out of the water. It's hilarious. Then we see a really good look at Kyle Chandler, aka Bruce Baxter from King Kong, looking up at Godzilla from the Monarch sub that is definitely not rocks, it's a submarine. You guys are right, my bad. As Godzilla fires his atomic breath into the sky. Some big changes to the atomic breath include the full charging of all rows of dorsal fins, the blue glowing coming from Godzilla's gills and mouth, Godzilla's new blue eyes that look like Thor Ragnarok's blue eyes, the atomic breath taking up Godzilla's full mouth rather than just a part of it, and a nice spiral beam going across Godzilla's atomic breath that was not there in the beginning. That may be a reference to Godzilla Final Wars or the Heisei era with their spiral breath. That could be a reference to a load of Godzillas, because a load of Godzillas have had spiraled atomic breath. We then see Mothra hatching as a full-grown moth from her cocoon at the Monarch base. This reveals to us that the Temple of the Moth is hidden inside of a waterfall, as we'll see in just a moment. Mothra's 800-foot wingspan is seen with the classic Toho Mothra patterning on it. The blue color also confirms the previous reports we got from my insider. It is now that we see the text on screen become a little bit more animated as the slight effect of water is layered over it. That will become a little bit more exaggerated later in the trailer. This effect symbolizes both the absurd amount of water that will be seen in this movie, but it also symbolizes the quote-unquote good monsters, such as Godzilla, a water monster, and Mothra, a monster that erupted from a waterfall. Now we see here the Monarch base is seen in full view underneath the waterfall. I'm sure when Mothra flies away, she will destroy that thing on accident, and we might see the aftermath of that later on in the trailer. This is Monarch Base 62. It's a reference to Mothra's original release date in Japan, 1962. Then some trick editing is used to make it look like Emma Russell is freeing Rodan from his volcano on Isla de Mona. But don't get confused, there is something even more sinister happening in this clip. If you look at the clothes Emma and Madison are wearing, as well as the blue background, it becomes more clear that the girls are at Monarch Base Outpost 32. This base is in Antarctica. This is where Charles Dance's character will take them after kidnapping them. The button being pressed is linked to a computer reading a bioacoustic signature. The direct thing that it says, the direct quote, is detected species bioacoustics. Basically, it's just saying that Ghidorah is alive under the ice. This is the monster DJ equipment that Vera Farmiga was referring to in her previous interview. By pressing this button, Emma Russell is releasing Ghidorah by angering him into escaping. Clearly, he's not going to respond well to the high-pitched frequencies that are being emitted. We see a volcano explode on Isla de Mona, releasing Rodan. This could be the result of an attack by the men who are working for Charles Dance's character, but it also could just be the volcano exploding. We might actually see the plane that was used to bomb the volcano open here in a second with a different shot of Rodan. As we get our first look at Rodan, a few things become more clear. Rodan will have a design that is a cross between his Showa design and his Final Wars design. Rodan will have burning wings in this movie, which is super cool, and he will look very similar to his Kong Skull Island design. Rodan sleeping in a volcano is a reference to the movie Rodan from 1956. In that movie, Rodan slept under a volcano and he was eventually killed by the same volcano, or maybe it was a different volcano, I don't quite remember. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. Rodan was also revived by the lava of the same volcano that killed him in 56 in 1964's Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. For those of you wondering, Toho's preferred pronunciation of the word Ghidorah in English is Ghidorah. That's why I say Ghidorah. That's why I don't say Ghidorah, because they prefer Ghidorah. That is the one that they market him under. Don't know what to tell you. Now you guys can see a plane flying in front of Rodan. No, this is not a second Rodan. This is a plane. This could be a Monarch observation plane, but it seems as though it shows up multiple times throughout the trailer, leading Rodan into storm clouds, which Ghidorah is inside of, and eventually flying directly at Ghidorah. I think personally that this plane is controlling Rodan and dragging him from place to place. When I say it's controlling Rodan, I mean that it could be housing the device that emits the frequency that maybe Rodan just doesn't like, so he's trying to shut it off like the movie Rampage. And so basically they're just luring him towards Ghidorah, so if it's a Monarch plane, maybe he can fight Ghidorah Ghidorah, and if it's a non-Monarch plane, maybe he can team up with Ghidorah. Fun fact, the Monarch containment base on Isla de Mona is base 56. That is a reference to the original Rodan movie, which came out in 1956. Then we see Mark Russell yelling about how someone is out of your goddamn mind. This puts him in the same location in the same clothes we saw him in earlier when the intro video was playing. It is possible that he's yelling at Emma Russell on the screen after she pitches the idea to release King Ghidorah. It cuts to Vera Farmiga slamming down her monster DJ equipment. We might see this location again in a second. Rodan flies over Isla de Mona, creating enormous windstorms that level the city below him. Rodan has been described as an A-bomb with wings in this movie, and this is a clear representation of that. This also sends Rodan back to his fearful roots from 1956, where Rodan was a monster villain. The small details of the tiles being ripped off each individual roof add to the realism of this and make it look much cooler than it would have been without that little detail. Emma Russell's mention of how
This is the only way.
seems to be pulled out of context, but it is most likely referring to releasing King Ghidorah. We then see Ghidorah's gravity beams start to destroy the Monarch base around what looks like maybe Madison Russell running through the halls of this containment outpost, which I think is Outpost 32, while carrying the emitter that Ghidorah probably woke up as a result of. Or this is Fenway Park in Boston. It does kind of look like we'll see a stadium in this movie, as we'll talk about in a little bit, and this could be that same stadium. This is added to by the fact that if you look at the walls, you will see pictures of baseball players. So, Fenway, maybe? I think so. The small detail of 3 separate blasts of electricity hitting this place all at once suggests that this is in fact Ghidorah's gravity beams. The soldiers storming Outpost 32 is a good time to mention that although the number 32 isn't directly related to Ghidorah's first appearance, despite it being half the number of the year Ghidorah was first shown off, 64 goes down to 32. This is a reference to the movie The Thing by John Carpenter. In that movie, the outpost in Antarctica is Outpost 32. An alien is found in ice and studied until it wakes up and kills everyone. Michael Dougherty, being a mainly horror director, is clearly paying tribute to that with this movie, where he has an outpost in Antarctica, Outpost 32, not 31, which discovers an alien in ice who will eventually wake up and kill everybody. And yes, it does indeed sound like, based on the reports we've been getting, Ghidorah will be a space creature in this movie, just like he was in the Showa-era Godzilla films. We see Madison Russell hanging out in the room she will most likely try to quote-unquote reach Monarch in. In this shot, she is looking at a picture of her pre-kaiju family. We'll get back to that in a little bit. We then see Mark Russell running through what looks like the destroyed stadium as the lightning from Ghidorah strikes in front of him. A clip of Madison Russell screaming during a monster attack plays, but it's unclear if this is during a flashback or not. If it is during a flashback, this is when #RestInPeace Russell will happen. We then see an underground temple. It is hard to say if this temple will be the same temple we saw earlier, the one dedicated to Godzilla, but I'm led to believe that this one is a different location, one dedicated to Rodan. That's based on the dry look to it and the lava everywhere. Either way, everything explodes. We will see more of this temple in a second. A small little detail here is a statue of Pazuzu, the statue from The Exorcist. This is Michael Dougherty once again paying tribute to his horror genre roots. We then see Washington, D.C. flooded and destroyed by monsters. The flooding may have been caused by Godzilla as he swam on shore. The storm is a clear effect of King Ghidorah, and the buildings being damaged may be a combination of both Rodan and Ghidorah flying over the city. You can actually see Rodan flying in the corner here. Lots of people think it's Ghidorah, but nope, there's only one head, folks. It's just Rodan. Ghidorah is clearly in these storm clouds, creating these tornadoes and cyclones in the distance. Washington, for those of you who are wondering, is a distance of 392 miles from Boston, where the movie's ending will take place, leading me to believe that this will be a big battle mid-movie, leading up to the final battle of the film in Boston. Madison Russell saying, "You monster," to Emma Russell. This is definitely in response to her mother freeing Ghidorah, but the weird filter over this shot makes Madison look a little bit like a ghost, so maybe that shot's not actually happening at all. Maybe it's just an illusion that Emma Russell is having. Then as Emma Russell is apologizing, we see a shot of Ghidorah behind Madison in the window. Yes, you guys can look very closely here. You will see that there are 2 heads out here. This is our best and most clear look at Ghidorah in the trailer, or at least it's the best detailed look of him. We've also been seeing snippets of G-Team throughout this trailer. That will be this movie's G-Force. G-Team is Monarch's armed force divisions. The G stands for Godzilla. Then we see Rodan chasing the big plane from earlier. He looks to be headed right for Ghidorah in the storm clouds. In the process, he smashes some army jets out of the air. It is very cool. Then we see Ghidorah flap his wings in silhouette as lightning strikes behind him. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see the plane from earlier. Also, you see Ghidorah's traditional wing shape in the bottom left of the screen. I guess it's Ghidorah's right wing, but it's our left. Charles Dance proclaims,
"Long live the king,"
in reference to King Ghidorah, setting up the idea that Godzilla will have to fight to earn the title of King of the Monsters. Emma Russell's expression here leads me to believe that this is the first time she's seeing Ghidorah, or maybe it's just when he's being released. We see Rodan clap his wings together, dispersing the flames from the jets he smashed in the process below him as he ascends. It's a very pretty cool shot. And that was me saying pretty, cool, not pretty cool. Serizawa makes his way up the lava temple for some reason, where he might die as a result of the explosion we saw earlier in the trailer. But, you know, if we're lucky, he'll just get injured here and lose an eye. Although that explosion is huge, so I don't know how he's gonna make it out of there. Hopefully he has some major plot armor. Madison reacting to the jets overhead may be her doing the obvious thing, which is watching Godzilla make his entrance into the movie, or it could be her smiling at Mothra as Mothra hatches and flies away in adult form. Maybe this is the Monarch base from earlier, all destroyed as a result of Mothra. That'd be pretty cool. Serizawa looks surprised in this shot, and there's still lava in the area, so seriously, what is he doing down there? Not really though. I don't want to know. If you know the spoilers, hey, get out of my comment section because I don't need that in my life. I'd like to be surprised in the movie. At the end of the day though, I really do hope he makes it out of this. A quick shot flashes by. It is an oil rig in the ocean. This has some Monarch workers on it, such as Kyle Chandler's character. The light in the sky is Mothra using her bioluminescence to the fullest. It's her god rays. They're blinding god rays that she uses in battle. We learn on the Monarch website that she only uses these god rays when she's threatened. She would turn into a completely blindingly white creature to distract enemies, and when I say creature, I mean she basically just turns her wings into a light bulb, not transforms into a new monster. If you pay close attention, you will notice when she claps her wings together, she's actually doing it to blast the storm clouds away from being overhead the oil rig. This may be her attacking Ghidorah one-on-one, trying to save the people on the rig. Then we get our last reaction shot of the trailer. It's Madison as she stands in what's either the destroyed Monarch containment base after Mothra flies away, or she's standing in the destroyed stadium looking up at Godzilla, who's arriving for the final battle. Godzilla's appearance at the end of the trailer shows us that not only will he be leading the charge for the military against Ghidorah, which is awesome to think about, but he will also be continuing to use his iconic Godzilla 2014 roar. Also, don't be surprised if this is the moment Ifukube's Godzilla theme kicks in for the first time. Not necessarily the first instance of Ifukube music in the movie, but the first time it really flares up into Godzilla's theme. As we see the Godzilla logo here at the end, it is covered in both Ghidorah's storm clouds and Godzilla's underwater presence, representing the duel between the monsters that will happen in the movie. The logo maintains its look from the Godzilla 2014 posters and trailers, but it's all blue now to show off the monsters and movie's new color tone. Well, there you have it. A lot of things you missed in Godzilla 2, probably 100, but I'm not going to count. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. This one was a bit tedious to do because it's been so long. I spent way too long scripting it out, and I was struggling to read it the whole time, leading me to be quite agitated during the recording process. Either way though, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time. D-Man, out.